RimWorld, the game that is not at all about what you think it's about. Hello, and 'tis I, Malcolm, the much-loved life sim expert. But today, we're not playing a life simulation game, we're playing RimWorld. Sadly, this game has nothing to do with what you think it has to do with. RimWorld is a game that starts with 3 people who crash land on an unknown planet and must do everything they can to survive, all while facing numerous threats from the outside world. But the threats don't always come from outside the house, because sometimes it's your characters themselves that are the real threat. Each character has its own unique backstory and personality that can lead to clashes with others and meltdowns aplenty. So what if we lean into the life simulation aspects of RimWorld and focus on the characters, their personalities, and their relationships? Watch as the story unfolds. But first, thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring today's video. Instant Gaming is an online marketplace where you can buy your favorite games straight from authorized resellers like Steam, the EA app, and Epic Games, but at huge discounts. It's incredibly easy to use, there's a massive library of PC and console games to choose from, and you can save a ton of money at the same time. Sounds like a win-win to me. And some might say most importantly, you can support Daddy Malcolm in the process. I like to be spoiled every once in a while. You can find games like RimWorld and all of the RimWorld DLC on Instant Gaming at prices lower than you can find on Steam. Oh my god, and by the way, the DLC for this game is incredible. So if you like what you see today, head over to Instant Gaming using my special link in the description and I'll receive a small commission on your purchase. Thank you again to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video, and thank you guys, as always, for watching. Nancy's got a little one on the way, so it really means the world. And this whole time you guys thought she was my mom. What better way to start this simulation than with a family? So first we have Hoffman. He's a 45-year-old escaped convict who grew up in the apocalypse. He's a fire-loving, man-hating, lazy piece of shit. I mean, I can already tell he's gonna be a great addition to our household. And not only is Hoffman an escaped convict, he's also an escaped father, because he has 2 daughters that just so happen to be right here. How long has he been in prison, and does he know who they are? These are all great questions. First, there's Gwendol, who I'm just gonna call Gwen. She's a 27-year-old who starred in various films and TV shows as a child. Okay, Hannah Montana, we see each other. And it looks like her childhood knack for memorizing scripts came in handy, because as an adult, she was employed pretty much as a bookkeeper for an industrial world dictator. She's kind of like a Mentat from Dune. I wouldn't know though, never seen it. And Gwen is sanguine, so she loves sangria. That's not right, is it? She's optimistic. And she's a fast learner. It's giving slay, Gwen. It's giving mother. But she has a fatal flaw. An annoying voice. Never felt that. Never experienced that. Truly. And lastly, we have Gwen's sister, 29-year-old Nose. And looking at the 2 of them, their childhoods could not be any different. Because as a kid, Nose lived on an organ farm, not an organic farm. Organs, bruh. Like, I don't know, dicks and stuff. Anyway, her body was used to grow organic implants for wounded mercenaries. Am I reading this right? What the M. Night Shyamalan movie plot is this? Due to her childhood, Nose is incapable of violence, so she can't hunt or fight, which is a huge problem for us. I'm not a doctor, Nose, but I'm pretty sure you have PTSD. As an adult, Nose was a simple low-wage worker, the people's princess, and her only trait is jogger, so she moves a lot faster than others. We love a quick queen. But isn't RimWorld incredible though? Already the characters have more depth than The Sims 4. And oh yeah, the final rule to give us some challenge. This simulation will end the moment we experience a death. The 3 of you awake in your crypto sleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown RimWorld. As pieces of the shredded starship fall around you, you start making plans to survive. Wow, that really hit close to home. I've also crash landed into some rim jobs in the past. Looks like we also brought along a pet dog named Puff. We spend the first several days working on our house. Unlike The Sims, you don't really start with any money in this game. We mostly just have some raw resources and we have to scavenge for everything else. Father Hoffman gets to work on a small rectangular house, which to be honest is not far off from the houses I build in The Sims. It's called minimalism, but it takes several days to finish because the only one who can really build is Hoffman, and he's lazy. That's the problem with people who crash land on mysterious planets these days. None of them want to work. Eventually, we finish the base of our home, give it a roof, and start working on a garden. Everyone seems to be getting along really well, except for poor Gwen, whose annoying voice is a bit of a handicap when it comes to building relationships. Over the next few days, we install floors, a generator, and build a cooler. It's basically a giant freezer, and we can store food in here so it doesn't spoil. Things are going really well. But the next morning, when I'm looking for berries to harvest, I stumble across a raging fire. Oh my god, is that a raging fire? And it's quickly approaching our home. It must have started last night during that thunderstorm. But then, by some miracle, it starts raining and the wildfire is extinguished. I don't know who was looking out for us, but, well, actually I do. See, in RimWorld, the events that occur in your game are all decided by a narrator. It's basically an AI that looks at how you're doing and either rewards you or punishes you. Some of the AI is more chill, others can be a bit brutal, but the AI narrator I chose for the beginning of our journey is a bit of a softie. So I think she saw that our humble abode was about to get burnt to a crisp and put a stop to it. See, this whole time everyone's been talking bad about AI. It turns out they're a good guy. But not really, because as soon as I said that, this crazy dinosaur thing attacks Gwen and she's injured. This animal is called a boomalope. Boom meaning explode, alope meaning like an antelope. I don't know, bruh. Anyway, they explode when they die and can do a ton of damage. Gwen gets some rest and luckily she recovers just in time for a huge quest, a chance to rescue a prisoner named Balls. Nice try, game, but I'm not gonna make any inappropriate jokes about this guy's name because he's just 16 and I honestly can't afford another cancellation. So Gwen and Hoffman descend upon Ball's location, leaving Nose to protect our shaft. I mean our shack. Luckily, Balls isn't very well guarded, so we take out the guard and guide Balls back to our family jewels. Our family home. All around, he seems quite capable, but I notice he's immediately disliked by Hoffman, who, if you remember, is a misandrist, which means he hates men. We'll see if he has the balls to say it to his face. You better stop! When we examine Balls a bit closer, we can see there's more to the story. Balls grew up on a cave world, so he loves staying inside, like in dark places, under layers of clothes. He's young and seems like a hard worker, so we'll just try to keep him tucked inside the house where he's happy. Over the next few days, we continue building our home, adding a hospital and more bedrooms. But then an enemy from a nearby colony arrives and nearly kills Hoffman and Balls. This guy has to be drugged up. I swear we shot him 20 times. He was, in fact, on drugs. The days fly by and nights melt into mornings and our little colony really starts coming together. And then a crash pod lands near our home. And apparently there's a man on it named Lynn. But wait. This is Hoffman's brother, uncle to Gwen and Nose, but apparently he's also from an enemy colony, which makes him our enemy. So we give Lynn the family treatment, aka we arrest him and place him in our makeshift prison. It's just like the Olive Garden, because when you're here, you're enemy. Over the next few days, we continue working on the house, and when Gwen finds time, she takes care of Lynn and encourages him to leave the dark side and join us. His family. But before we can even recruit this guy, another stranger arrives at the colony and wants to join. His name is Moby Dick, and he's Nose's son? Dick is 28 years old, somehow just 1 year younger than Nose, aka his mom. The math isn't really mathing, but his biography leads me to believe that he's mostly estranged from Nose. He spent his childhood as a hideaway. He had overprotective parents growing up and worked as a digger as an adult. Earlier, we learned that Nose spent much of her childhood on an organ farm, where her body was used to provide organs for wounded soldiers. Is it possible that Dick is the result of some weird swapping of body parts, and that Nose is just his biological mother, but played no role in his upbringing? See, what I'm trying to say is, what if Nose's reproductive organs were taken from her and another woman had her child? Sort of think I'm onto something. M. Night Shyamalan, really hit me up. Anyway, Dick is kind and a wimp, and he's a welcome addition to our community. We already have so much work to do, and to be honest, I can't help but feel that Balls is a bit less lonely now that Dick is here. Eventually, we also encourage Lynn to leave behind his old colony and join our community. Lynn has spent his adulthood working as a medieval minstrel. That sounds like the coolest job ever. He's pretty creative and he also loves animals. What a softie. He's like someone you would meet at a Renaissance fair. We put Lynn in charge of our growing animal collection. It's a hodgepodge of random creatures like a boomalope and several horses that somehow just keep procreating nonstop. And as much as Uncle Lynn is a welcome addition to our community, he's actually a freak. Lynn tries to romance his niece, Nose, and when that doesn't go well, he goes after his other niece, Gwen. Oh my God. We really need some more women in this colony that aren't family, cause Lynn's getting desperate, and it's starting to give "What are you doing, step bro?" And just like that, the AI gods answer our call with a new quest. For the low price of just 165 uranium, we can buy a new colonist named Emma. It's giving slave trade, but I can't help but be a bit excited. And luckily, we found a uranium deposit right next to our house, so we have the goods. Once again, I sent Gwen and Hoffman off to a nearby colony to complete the transaction, and behold, Emma. Sadly, we sorta got the short end of the stick because it turns out Emma is not only a pyromaniac, but she's also ugly. Oh yeah, and she's a terrible cook, because we all ate her food and then got explosive diarrhea. So there's that. I guess that does explain why she only costs 165 uranium. But at least she isn't named after a random body part. One of the beautiful things about RimWorld is that, just like explosive diarrhea, it has a tendency to hit you when you least expect it. Suddenly, a group of 5 enemies rain terror upon our colony, and they're smart as hell. I think the AI narrator is really catching on. They start by destroying one of our generators, which causes a massive fire, but luckily, after the last fire that nearly took us out, we installed an anti-fire device that took care of most of it. But there was also another massive fire raging on the other side of the colony, so I sent some of the colonists over there to try to stop the fire spread. But all the stress from the raid and the fires proves to be a burden far too heavy for Balls, who has a mental breakdown and goes on a murderous rampage. And his first victim is a boomalope. As expected, the boomalope goes boom immediately, crippling Balls. Luckily, Gwen is nearby and takes him to safety, but the damage is already done. The explosion has broiled his left eyeball, leaving him with just 3 balls left. On top of the explosive diarrhea that Emma gave us, several colonists have come down with the case of sensory mechanites. This is a serious illness that lasts for several months and causes chronic pain and lethargy. To make matters worse, Moby Dick suffers a mental breakdown and goes on a binge eating spree. Sounds like a typical Friday night for me, but with limited food reserves in our freezer, this is really the last thing we need. In order to build up our defenses and protect ourselves from future raids, we need supplies, particularly advanced components. So we send father and daughter on a quest to secure what we need, only for them to be greeted by rabid, disease-carrying animals that nearly take both of them out. Somehow, they make it back home safely, but they're in really bad condition. Disease has proliferated among the colonists, causing many of them to experience severe chronic pain. Some of the colonists start using smoke leaf, an addictive substance that relaxes the body and increases happiness. Addiction sweeps through the colony, and before long, pretty much everyone is high as a kite. But winter arrives, and there's romance in the air. Balls starts flirting with Nose. If you can call making fun of her facial hair flirting, I'm not sure that's the best way to do it, but then again, I wouldn't know. Sadly, the romance does not last long because our colony is raided yet again, and this time, things are really bad. See, a lot of the colonists were spread out along the map, scavenging for resources, and as soon as the alarm bells went off, I quickly sent the colonists back to the safety of our compound, but unfortunately, poor Emma wasn't fast enough. Hoffman was nearby, and I contemplated trying to have him save Emma, but it was too dangerous and he likely would have met his fate as well. Emma is crippled by a gunshot, and just as I start to believe it's game over for us, somehow she doesn't die. She gets up and starts limping toward the compound, but she's not fast enough, and one of the raiders picks up Emma and carries her away. Poor, sweet, innocent, ugly Emma has been kidnapped. We get a message saying that maybe we'll receive a quest in the future to rescue Emma, so she's not dead, which means this story ain't over yet. Regardless, we get a colonist lost moodlet, which really dampens everyone's mood, even though Emma was really ugly and gave us all food poisoning. But there's no time to mourn because we receive yet another quest to save a potential colonist. But this time, we're not playing around. So we send a heavily armed group to rescue a man named Oliver. Everything seemed fine, but then we were ambushed. Somehow we made it out alive and headed back to our colony with a new friend. But there was no time to celebrate, because as soon as we arrived back home from our rescue mission, we were raided yet again. It's almost like this game is trying to kill us. Or maybe I'm just really bad at it. Probably that one. Luckily, our newly installed autocannons do most of the heavy lifting as our colonists take shelter inside the compound. And this time, one of our enemies is incapacitated. Maybe it was a hasty decision made in a foggy haze of smoke leaf addiction, but we decided to take him as prisoner. And this is perhaps the biggest mistake we could have made because, look, I don't want to point fingers, but as soon as we welcomed this guy into our colony, we all got even more sick. We got pretty much back-to-back messages saying several colonists had been infected with muscle parasites and the flu. I swear, that's the last time I ever try to do something nice. Even our pets weren't spared. We run out of hospital beds and have to convert many of the bedrooms into makeshift infirmaries. But once Gwen is feeling a bit better, I send her out to the animal pen to treat some of our pets who have the plague. I'm actually stressed AF because we have these boomalopes, right? And we need them because we use the chem fuel we get from them to power our entire colony. And if they die, we're gonna be in the dark. Our food is gonna spoil. We won't be able to do anything. And just like that, we hear a massive explosion as a boomalope succumbs to the plague, igniting a fire for the ages. We set off one of the anti-fire devices and spend the next few hours putting out the remaining flames. Several of our horses die in the process. You can hear horse girls crying in the distance. Shortly thereafter, we get a message saying that one of our colonists is at risk of death due to a medical emergency. But sadly, Gwen, our most skilled doctor, is bedridden once again. So I assign another colonist to tend to Balls, who is really grappling with an extreme case of the flu. Balls is in really rough shape, and he can't keep anything down. Balls, hang in there, man. Just keep hanging on. That's when we get the message. Balls has descended from this RimWorld. His last interaction as a living person was with Dick.
I can't.
We bury Balls in the backyard, and this is where I wanted to end things, but something was telling me our RimWorld narrator had more in store for us. Just as we finished laying Balls to rest, 6 inches under, Gwen died, and with it, her lifelong companion Puff goes on a murderous rampage due to the sheer shock of losing his owner.
Death
wow,
to all of them.
That's a plot twist for you. So the simulation ends with our trusted furry friend massacring literally everyone. I never imagined this is how the story would unfold, and I didn't even have to pay $39.99 for a Pets expansion to see it happen. In the community tab on my channel, you can vote right now on what game you think I should play next with a special little life sim twist. Once again, thank you to Instant Gaming for sponsoring this video. Be sure to use that link in the description to get some amazing deals. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. To the 0 people who are watching, ladies and gentlemen, a boomalo. Boom! Sorry if I sound out of breath, I was just back there railing Nancy hard. Man. And this whole time you guys thought she was my mom.